In 325 AD, Emperor Constantine
All right, let's see it.
brought together 52 different tribes. They excluded the Jews.
The Council of Nicaea had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with tribes or with Jewish folks. It was an ecumenical Christian council, and so it was the bishops of Christian congregations who were invited.
Okay, so he was a Jew. They weren't invited. Plus, he's already been gone 325 years, but he caused a hell of a following.
325 CE is not 325 years from the death of Jesus. It is about 325 years from when Jesus probably was born.
And they were called Nazarenes. They weren't called Christians.
They were not called Nazarenes in the 4th century CE. That referred to a specific sect of Christianity by the 4th century CE that still preserved Torah observance. In the 1st century CE, Nazarene seems to be a non-Christian way to refer to Christians. We have a Roman named Tertullus who accuses Paul of being a ringleader for the Nazarenes in Acts 24:5. But the name Christian comes up several chapters earlier in the book of Acts and was adopted by Christians by the end of the 1st century CE, and we already see non-Christian sources referring to Christians and to Christianity in the early 2nd century CE.
The word Christian is actually derived from the word Cretan, which means...
This is entirely false and also very ableist. The word Cretan comes from 18th century French. Nobody's exactly sure the etymological root of it, but if it is related to the word Christian, then the direction of dependence is exactly the opposite. The word Cretan would have developed from the Latin word Christianus.
Then Emperor Constantine got this big thing together, Council of Nicaea, look it up. And the Council of Nicaea got together and they blended all these religions together to make a new religion based on Yahshua, and they called it Christianity.
This is laughably wrong. The Council of Nicaea did three main things: resolve the Arian controversy, settle on a new way to determine the date of Easter that decoupled it from the calculation of the date of the Passover, and also come up with a bunch of canon law. The notion that it blended different religions together is profoundly ignorant, and the word Christianity is first used by Ignatius of Antioch around 100 CE. So the Council of Nicaea had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with coming up with that designation.
And if anyone didn't agree with it, they killed them.
Yeah, that is also entirely false.
What are we supposed to believe? Well, go do your research. That's a fact, what I just said.
That is awful research, and the only fact that has been stated up to this point in the video is that the Council of Nicaea was convened by the Emperor Constantine in the year 325 CE. Everything else so far has been laughably wrong.
And what did they base it off of? They based it off the Greek god, you know, the Zeuses and the mythologists. They based it off the sun worshippers, and they based it off the Hare Krishnas.
Yeah, none of that's true.
And that's why if you look at his name, which was Iesu H. Christos, which is Jesus H. Christ. And I used to hear people go, Jesus H. Christ, and I'd always think, oh, I thought they were just being funny by giving Jesus a middle name or a middle initial. I didn't know that the H in Jesus H. Christ, which is actually Iesus H. Christos, the H is for Horus.
This is just bafflingly misguided. This is not true in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. And the notion that H is the middle initial of Jesus' name derives from an early Christogram, IHS. And this is the Latin version of the first three letters of the name Jesus as it is spelled in Greek. So iota, eta, sigma. And that could be spelled in Latin IHS or IHC because of the way the letter sigma was written in certain styles of Greek. And then we get the development of the letter J in the 17th century, and then we begin to see JHS or JHC. Now again, this is a Latin transliteration of the first three letters of the name Jesus in Greek, but it incidentally looks like the J from Jesus and the C from Christ, which means the H would have to be a middle initial for Jesus' name. So it's kind of an historical accident based on transliteration from Greek into Latin, and the notion that it means Horus is absolutely asinine.
Now Horus was a god, right? And the son of other gods. And the way they worshipped him, and he was born on December 25th, by the way.
There's absolutely no link between Horus and December 25th in the ancient world.
Yahshua was not born on December 25th.
This video has now come up with 2 accurate statements.
But yet we all say he did when he didn't, and a lot of us know that he did not. Okay, so why are we fucking celebrating it then?
It's called an observed holiday.
Well, because that's a pagan religion, and so is Easter.
No, Easter is a Christian adaptation of the Jewish Passover.
But anyway, he was born on December 25th, and they used to sacrifice babies to Horus.
No, they didn't.
And Easter used to be a big orgy fest, so they would have babies on Christmas to sacrifice.
No, it wasn't.
So Easter and Christmas are pagan holidays.
No, they're not.
But yet all the Christian-based people act like it's Jesus' birthday and his resurrection, which it wasn't, because he wasn't resurrected on a Sunday. If you even count the days, he said he was in the ground for as many nights as he was in the whale's belly. How many was he in there? 3 days, 3 nights. We know that he had the Last Supper. What day was that? Passover. That would make it a Tuesday.
The Gospels are all pretty explicit in representing the resurrection as taking place on the first day of the week, and the sign of Jonah is just one part of the Gospel that's just kind of a traditional approximation, and the texts are not univocal anyway, so it's not like they're required to all agree with each other.
Okay, so they came and snatched him out of the Garden of Gemini, or whatever it's called.
Gethsemane.
And then when they buried him, he rose on a Saturday. And Easter's not Saturday. So we're celebrating his resurrection on the wrong day. We're celebrating his birthday on the wrong day. We're calling him by the wrong name.
So is it tough for you,
like, dude, like how obvious can it be?
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
And what's crazy is the scripture, I mean the commandments, one of them says don't take the Lord's name in vain, and the word vain means to make meaningless or useless, and you can't make a name any more useless than by refusing to use it. Dude, his name was Yahshua.
So the notion that Jesus' name was actually Yahshua is just this naive assumption that Jesus' name was actually Joshua, and the only difference between how it was pronounced anciently and how it was pronounced today is that it was a Y instead of a J, which gives you Yahshua, and it wasn't that either. Joshua is a transliteration from Yehoshua, but Jesus' name was not Yehoshua or Joshua. It was the Aramaic variant, which is generally vocalized as Yeshua in the Hebrew Bible, but was probably pronounced with the Galilean dialect as just Yeshu or Yeshu.
Well, that translates to Jesus. No, it doesn't, because if you take it from now back, the name Joshua was Yahshua. It was Yeshua. But Yeshua is now Joshua. But Yeshua, there were other Yeshuas back in those days. How come they didn't become Jesus too, if it was a translation? Why weren't they all Jesuses?
Because Jesus comes to us through the Greek New Testament, which is using the traditional Greek transliteration of the Aramaic Yeshua. If you look in the Septuagint translation of the Hebrew Bible at the places where it had the Aramaic Yeshua, it has Jesus, or what is transliterated through Latin into English as Jesus. So the reason is that we are transliterating through Greek rather than directly from Hebrew or Aramaic, and that is because the stories of Jesus come to us originally in Greek texts.
The one thing I don't know is who translated it to Jesus. Was it the Greeks?
It was
King James?
it was the Greeks, and they translated it to Iesus, which Iesus was if you put I-E and Zeus together, it's Hail Zeus.
It 100% is not anything remotely related to Hail Zeus.